Hey everybody, thanks for taking time away from surfing smut and doing whatever you do on the internet, but I'm Brian Miner and this is Minor Disturbance Radio, and I'm going to cut right to the fucking chase here. I want to get to my guests, but my sponsors are getting on my back about talking about them in the opening of the show. You saw the little video of all the sponsors, but they want me to talk about them a little bit, so I picked three of them to talk about today. And first off is Rascals. I want to talk about Rascals because it's one of the coolest places you can go to see some of the best local bands in the area. It's a great stage, great PA system, great people. The 8th, actually, this month, as you can see on the stupid board behind me, 3 Years Hollow is going to have their CD release there, so they're going to be playing live. You better get your ass there. Also, I want to talk about Nar City. It's a printing company that prints up T-shirts, whatever you got. If you've got a benefit going on, go to look up Nar City, have them print your shirts, check it out. They do really good work. Here's a little plug for myself, for my 80s tribute band. There you go. You can get shirts like that. And oh, by the way, you can pick these up for $15 at a Dive Bomb gig. And oh, check out the back too. You know, hey, look at that. All right. So and also here's some other work that he did for me over there at Nar City. You can get a Minor Disturbance shirt. Boom. With all our sponsors right there. Go down to one of our other sponsors, which is Ragged Records. That's at the foot of the Arsenal Bridge, and go pick up a Minor Disturbance shirt there, and you can also get it up there at Music Mart on 23rd Avenue. So now that that's all been said, it's time to get to our guest today. I'm lucky enough to have one of my good friends, Tony Reeves, in the studio with me, and we're going to talk about some music business and some things that are coming down the road. What's up, Tony?
How you doing, man?
What's going on, Tony?
A lot.
Okay. Yeah, we know this. We know this. You guys, if you haven't heard of 3 Years Hollow yet, in this area, you've either been under a rock or you're just plain deaf. You just signed a record label deal.
Correct, yes.
With?
Imagine Records. We got Clint Lowry on board. He's the producer. Morgan's A&R for the label. And
tell the average folk how you would come across Clint Lowry, who is the guitar player for Seven Dust.
Right.
I mean, how does that, you don't just like pick up the phone and, do a search for Clint Lowry. Hey, dude, hey, we're a band from the Quad Cities. You want to come down and check us out. How'd this all come about?
Well, we did our first tour ever with Empire, and Corey Lowry is Clint's brother. It's his band. And we did about 2 months with them. And he liked us and said, I want to hook you up with Clint. I'm going to give you a call. And we honestly were like, yeah, right. We don't believe it. We didn't say that to him, but we're just like, we've heard so many things over the years like, this is going to happen. And we're like, but sure enough, a couple weeks later.
Well, for all the bands out there, they know exactly what you're talking about, because every time you go play, there's always a group of buttholes that just are trying to get close to you by saying, "Hey, I know this guy. I know this rig. I could break you guys, man." So it's just their way into getting close to you, and a lot of times that's all bullshit. But this time it wasn't.
No, absolutely not. And like I was saying, a couple weeks later, Jose got a call, and Jose's he's a huge Seven Dust fan, and there's been a big influence in his life, and Clint calls him up, and they start talking, and we set up a date for him to come, and the album that we got, a lot of the co-writes and the production on it were done at separate times. Like our first session with Clint, we did a song called "Take the World" with him. That's on here, and it went well. He stayed for a couple days. We got a lot of work done, had a few ideas, decided that's the one we wanted to pick, and then he left, and we had the single. And then
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but so you're saying that Clint Lowry came to Geneseo
yeah.
to Jose's house, and so explain to me the moments leading up to the car pulling up in the driveway.
For me,
for you and Jose.
I think Jose was a little more. I don't know the word I'm looking for. Antsy than I was. I mean, I don't usually get like starstruck or anything, I was excited to meet him, obviously.
Sure.
But we're just standing around hanging outside, and seen the car pull up, and I'm like, there he is. He pulls in, he's like, "What's up, guys?" And came in, we hung out, talked a little bit, went and had some lunch, and went and got to work.
Did he pay for the lunch? He did.
Yeah, and it's funny because
it's got to mean something.
I sat there when we were sitting there, and I looked at Jose. He went to the restroom or something. I'm like, I said, Clint Lowry just bought you lunch, right? He's like, I know, that's so weird.
Okay, so you got Clint Lowry on board. So he came down to help produce a song, or what was going on there? What did he come to 3 Years Hollow for?
At this point, Corey had talked to him and said, hey, why don't you check these guys out? It might be something you're interested in, because he knows that Clint does a lot of work with other artists. And he came down. It was really just for a couple songs that we were going to do. And I think we did 3 songs. We ended up keeping the one.
Sorry if I missed something, but is he co-writing these or is he just producing them?
He did a couple co-writes and he produced also.
So Clint Lowry's helping you kind of produce these and kind of get the ball rolling and making sure that...
Well, the first time we're just kind of like feeling it out, see if it was going to work, and that's what he wanted to do too. So he said, "I'll come down for a few days. We'll see how it works, this and that." It went great. We had a dinner and everything before we left, and we've just been kind of friends ever since then. We called him back up and said, "Hey, we'd like to do a little bit more and see what you can do." So he came back and we did another session with him. And I think we did, those are a lot of songs that we had, that we had in the works. We had some demos down, and he came in and was like, maybe let's do this here, let's try this here. And one of the songs, actually, the one that features Clint on the album, For Life, that's our oldest song on the album. And that was one of, Jose brought that song to the table years ago. Still during the Ascension.
Really?
Yeah, and we just never really went anywhere. Weren't quite satisfied with it, and he came in and he changed up some beats in the chorus, and and it was like, wow, that really fits well, And then so we just said, we'd like to feature you on one of the songs at least, and she's like, yeah, absolutely. And Clint's he's a hell of a guitar player, man.
Yeah,
songwriter too.
Well, he's been a professional for quite a while now, so
yeah, long time.
It's not like he's got to dust his guitars off like me every once in a while. And I go, can I still play this fucking thing? He's doing it all the time. So, yeah. Listen, I'm lucky because, being in the position I'm in to have this stupid podcast, a lot of times bands, I get to hear their stuff before it's released. Mm-hmm. And you actually let me listen to the entire record, and I've been checking it out. And I just got to say, this is going to be a super, super strong record.
Thank you, man.
It's really, really strong. There's no holes in it. I didn't hear any tracks that I was going, that's a filler. With Chemical Ride on there, that's the one thing that I was concerned with. A long time ago, I had 3 Years Hollow on my show. It was the first guest I had on MDR, and it was all audio. I didn't have the guts to put cameras up yet. Right. So, and we talked about this, and I asked why Chemical Ride wasn't the first song you were pushing on Sirius and all this stuff, and I had them questions, but I like the fact that it's on this record. There's a lot of hit material on this record.
Thank you.
But the way that Chemical Ride went, just by kind of putting the video out, what'd you get? You got 500,000 hits now on it?
It's getting close to like 400,000.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. The response was unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, it's a great video, and it's a great song.
Thank you.
Well, it's a great song first, and then the video, I think, brings it home. And once you have a visual presentation of a of a song, you and I know that we didn't care about anything until it came on MTV when we were kids. You know what I mean? So so we don't have an MTV anymore per se, but with that video being there, man, it was strong, and I think that is going to be.
It did, and that video actually kind of put us in the I don't know how you say it, it kind of made us a legitimate rock act, it really kind of catapulted us and did a lot for us as far as exposure, and people really dug the song, and after that it was just kind of like it started snowballing slowly. And
explain to me how a song like Chemical Ride gets written. I assume in my head that you've got a team of songwriters sitting there at this table and suits and some producers, and everybody's there, and they're like, okay, we need a hook that you cannot fucking forget the first time you hear it, and just kind of it came about. Tell me how it really came about.
Honestly, I'd had the riff, the chorus riff in my head for a long time, and I went over to Jose's house, and I think his wife was having a Tupperware party or something like that. And I'm like, hey, come here. I've been trying to push this song. And I'm like, please come listen to this. And he's like, all right. And I played it for him, and he came up with a melody, right there. I'm like, man, that's pretty cool. It kind of has this arena feel to it to me, And then
wait a minute. Did you say a Tupperware party?
Yes.
You did. So the song was written at a Tupperware party?
No. The song was brought to Jose at the Tupperware party.
So you interrupted Jose's Tupperware party, his wife's?
No, he was there hanging out and doing, how girls are when they get together.
I got you.
And he was doing the guys.
The only way it would have been cooler is if it was like a sex toy party. And then you brought, it would have been a totally different song though. It had more wah wah in it. Probably. If
I was at a sex toy party, I probably wouldn't have brought my guitar.
I hear you, man. And that's the kind of shit you're going to hear on MDR right there. You know,
right.
We're going to go off track a little bit because we can. So
I will tell you a little bit more about this song though. That's the one song that actually went through, you know, a lot of different channels, I guess you could say. Like after we'd got the basic idea for the song, we showed it to the rest of the guys, and everybody got on board with it, and worked out the parts and the arrangements and that. Kind of, some of it was done as a group, and Jose came up with the line, "The Chemical Ride," and I remember at practice we were like, I really like that, you know. I mean, it really stands out, you know. So we had the song, and we played it out for I think a couple of years, and then when we decided to go actually to the studio and say, you know, we're going to record, let's do this. We went to Tadpole up at Groove Master in Chicago, who's done, I mean, he was like Johnny K's like right-hand man. And if anybody knows who Johnny K is, I mean, he's done Disturbed. I mean, he's done everybody. So we went up there with Tadpole to do the vocal production on it and record it up there. And
just this one song.
Yeah, just the one song.
Okay.
Because that's the song that when we were writing these, when we were writing these out, we thought, you know, this is we feel this is one of our strongest songs. And so we went up there, and it was new for us because we had we've done everything on our own, never worked with a producer, you know, never had somebody telling us what to do, you should do this, you know, like messing with our art.
Okay, so you had a producer on this.
Yeah, that was Tadpole produced, and he recorded the vocals and did the vocal production.
Just on the business side of things, is this all kind of coming out of your own band,
Absolutely.
The band's pocket?
Yep.
There's nobody's like supporting this?
No,
or
the band.
Okay, nobody's bankrolling it at this point.
No, I mean, at that point we had a private investor, but, you know, I mean, we didn't have, you know, access to tons and tons of funds, so we had to do what, you know,
right.
what we had and build it slow.
For other bands that might be listening, they're saying, well, how do you jump from here to here? You know what I mean? I'm just trying to fill in the gaps for everybody. Yeah. Because I'm sure that this is very inspiring for a lot of bands around here to see a band pop out like this. So
I hope so, because there's a lot of good musicians in this area, and there's there's a lot of good bands, and I would love to see this area pop up. You know.
So you're talking about Chemical Ride and how you got it recorded.
Right, we went up there, and the song is only, I think, 3 minutes, 2 minutes 57 seconds long or something. Originally it was like 3 minutes and 15 seconds. We had this is something that we learned from going here. He said, you know, let's cut this part out here, let's do this here, let's take this, and I really hear this here, you know. This part's too long. It's kind of just dead air, you know, this little bridge. So we, you know, cut that out, and, you know, we're like, okay. When it came down to doing harmonies and that, he had a ton of good ideas, you know, and we went in and did them, and sat there and kind of worked out the rest of the kinks in the song as far as the outro of the song, and then what we're going to do after the bridge, and did it all, and we went home, and we waited, and we're like, man, we really can't wait to hear this, you know, I want to hear what this sounds like. And we got it back, and we were like, you know, wow, I mean, it was so cool for us to, you know,
so you got
hear what it sounded like, because
so you got the tracks done, and you didn't hear a final mix until later.
Right, you
really
know,
cool.
And I mean, there's a lot of little things that he did on there. His Tadpole's, vocal production was stellar. I mean, little things you don't hear, you know, until you get the tracks separated, and you're like, wow, that's in there.
So is that the same recorded track then that's on Cracks?
Yeah, same one, but remixed and mastered.
Remixed and mastered.
Yeah, but the tracks are all the same. I mean, all the tracks that we did.
Yeah, because you're going to surround it with other things that recorded at different times and different places, so you got to kind of make them all have the same.
Right. You know, and this album is a little bit beefier. When we did Chemical Ride, we wanted it. We were going to, you know, do a single with it, and we wanted it to be radio friendly. We didn't want it to be, you know. So it's a little lighter, a little cleaner. But with the rest of the album here, we just put a little bit more meat into it, so it's got a little bit more.
Sure. Yeah, I can tell you when I heard Chemical Ride for the first time, and I'm not going to say that I heard it legitimately from you guys. I think that it might have leaked out somewhere. I was shitting my pants. I was going, oh my God, this song, these guys are gone. You know what I mean? And then I'm thinking like, well, how does that happen? I mean, how do you go from having a great song like that to taking off? And obviously there's a lot of work still to be done just because you have a song. And how do we get to doing the whole record then?
Right. Well, what we decided to do was an EP. And that's I should explain from earlier. The reason we went to do Chemical Ride up with Tadpoles, because that was going to be like I said, the one we thought had the most pull for the EP we were doing. We didn't want to do a full length album. From all our experiences, we thought, why blow 10 or 11 songs for somebody to get it and listen to the first two? It's like, why don't we just make a 6-song EP? We'll shop it around, and if somebody likes it, they'll pick it up, and then we can. We have more to offer for them. So we did the Remember EP. We did it all ourselves. Jose recorded it and mixed it. Did
you do a lot of the tracking over there at Real Tracks?
Yeah. I mean,
okay, because that's another one of our sponsors. Yeah, I'm telling you. Absolutely. I mean, what would you have to say about Real Track Studio? Obviously, if you want to have a professional product,
Rob's the man, dude. Between Rob and Jose over there, I mean, you can't.
And Jose also is into producing bands too. So if you're a local band looking to have his work or his touch, he's willing to hand down any knowledge that he's learned along the way.
He loves to do that. Yeah. He's a singer, so he can help you with the harmonies.
Sure. And if you want to sound like Boston, call Brian Miner. I'll be there. So, but man, let's listen to something off the CD. I'm really antsy to let people hear something here. And the only thing that sucks is there's not a video to go with it right now, so you're just going to be hearing.
Not yet.
Yeah.
But there is one coming.
I'm sure it's coming. Mm-hmm. But normally I would just wuss out and play Chemical Ride or something like that has a video. But I want to hear something off the new CD. And I'm sure that a lot of people that listen to this would love to too. So let's check out Hungry. This is Hungry off of The Cracks.
I'm hungry, but I'm on my way. Need my enemies every day, and I'm hopeless. Bottled up inside. Come on over and take more. Watch your step, you take away all I've got, all I'll ever know. Like stealing from the blind and bold. And you blame me for everything. This time hands are empty, and I feel the pain in everything that you unfold. Throw the past you live away. I better run before you break down. Always not fast when all you wanna do is survive, and it's not too late. I better run before this breakdown. The only way to kill me is to always try to keep me alive. Wash the blood right off your face. Keep pointing the finger at everyone you know. I'm thinking it's the war you love. I lose faith, you change, and your heart seems so empty. And you feed the hate inside that pulls you to the floor. Throw the past you live away. I better run before you break down. Always not fast when all you wanna do is survive, and it's not too late. I better run before this breakdown. The only way to kill me is to always try to keep me alive. Throw the past you live away. I better run before you break down. Always not fast when all you wanna do is survive, and it's not too late. I better run before this breakdown. The only way to kill me is to always try to keep me alive.
Holy shit. And that's how it's done right there. 3 Years Hollow, The Cracks. The song's called Hungry. And that's a track that you wrote. Well, you wrote the music to it, right?
It started off as one of my songs, yeah. And the funny thing is like, I came to practice and I'd had that riff, and I was like, I wanted it to be a little bit slower. And it was just me and Jose hanging out at first before the rest of the guys got there. And he's like, man, I really feel like this song should be pumping, you know? And he plays drums too, you know? I mean, so he sat down and we started working. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? That's kind of cool. And then Chris showed up and we're like, hey, Chris, what would you do with this? And he's like, well, I do this. And he put the things in there. And then we worked on it a little bit. We don't usually like finish a song as a band or anything. Usually somebody has an idea. Usually it's either me or Jose, and I mean, everybody puts their stamp on everything,
sure,
you know. But we just put it away, and then Jose and I, you know, I mean, we were working together almost every day on just, you know, band stuff and music stuff. We lived 10 minutes from each other, so we went out. We made a couple different demos of Hungry. Thought, well, let's try this or maybe this, and had all the parts worked out. And then when Clint had came, he did kind of like that Tadpole did. He's like, you know, let's try this here. Let's cut this out and let's put this over here. You know, that's how like like I'll give you an example, like the verse used to be the main riff, and it was real going with it. And he's like, man, I really feel like, you know, put them toms in there and break it down. And it worked out. I mean, it felt right, and we're like, yeah, that makes sense, you know.
A lot of people wonder what a producer actually does for a band, and not, you know, firsthand you kind of know when you're really close to your product that way. I would imagine that you kind of get I don't know, a little bit worn out by it. You can't think clearly, and then a set of fresh ears that come in that knows what they're talking about starts, oh, well, yeah, this, and this, and that's what a producer does.
True. Yeah, and you know, the thing is that kind of works the same way in 3 Years Hollow, because like I said, you know, Jose and I do a lot of writing, but the cool thing that we've always maintained, and my personal opinion about our band, is that each one of us comes from a different background of music. I mean, I've probably got the widest variety. I listen to like oddball stuff, and I mean I listen to everything, like from the Beatles to today's music, but you know, Chris is really knowledgeable in progressive rock music, you know. I don't even know what Dex likes. But Neil came from pop punk background, and Jose is a little bit newer, so everybody's got their kind of own, you know, flair. And when we get the basic, you know, skeleton of the song, and we sit down, it's like, okay, you know, everybody goes home and they'll chew on it or whatever. And because if we're writing a song, it's constantly going through my head. I mean, until it's done. You know, I used to drive a truck before I did this, so I'd be driving 300 miles a day thinking, well, you should put this part here. Let's try this. And go to practice, put it together, and then the other guy would be like, you know, I want to do this here. And, you know.
I drove a truck before, and I'll tell you, you're right. You're either going to go crazy or you're going to write a record. And, you know, some of us write good records, some of us write shitty records, but you always get something out of it because your mind's constantly racing. You can't get it off. Right. So, but, you know, listening to that track, obviously anybody that's hearing that is gonna recognize the quality, you know, the professionalism of the recordings. Can you tell me where, you know, most of this was recorded, or did you do it in different studios?
Yeah, a few. Let's see, we did real tracks. I mean, we took everything off Remember, except for the song Before It Begins. And everything that was done on Remember was done at Real Tracks and in Jose's basement. And let's see, Fallen, Devil Slave, and Cracks was done in St. Louis. We went down there and did a few days. That was one of the sessions we did with Clint. That's when he did the co-writes. And then there was a song, Fallen, Jose and I had written it in a campground in Mississippi.
In the tour bus or in the RV?
Well, actually, we went inside. They had like a little area with a TV in there, and we were sitting in there, and he's got his laptop, and we got the guitars. Well, let's do this, and you know, everything's going good. And I don't know why I'm telling you this, but all of a sudden I look over, and he goes, "What the fuck is that?" And I'm telling you, it was a roach like this big, and we're like, I hit it with a phone book, and it didn't die, and finally Dex came in, and he killed it, and then another one came out, and we're like, what are these? And they're like, oh, those are tree roaches. You never been down here before.
Wow.
I was like, oh, I don't want to see anymore. But so yeah, we ended up getting a good demo for that, and brought it to St. Louis, and That song was pretty much how it was. I mean, there's a few note changes that we did, but the rhythm and most of that was pretty much the same.
So did you do the drums in one place, all the drums in the same studio, or are they several different studios for the drums?
The 3 songs we did in St. Louis, tracked the drums down there. The other drums were tracked at Real Tracks in Denport.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think.
Let me ask you this: Did you play every guitar line on this record?
No.
No. Well, Lowry was.
Yeah.
He was a guest player on one, right?
Right. Yeah, and he tracked too. Some of the ideas that he had, like there's. I think it says in here. I can't remember because it all goes together. But yeah, like Devil Slave, Fallen. He did play some guitar on that too.
Okay.
Just his ideas, like we'd had it. And he's like, let's throw this in here, and I think Clint's really quick. I mean, he's been doing it a long time. So he puts the part in. He's like, look, if it comes down to mixing, we keep it. We don't. And there's certain little quips in there and little things that I think really are cool and stand out in the songs.
Well, just to kind of butt in here for a second, there's something that I notice when I'm on the outside looking in at the situation, and that would be a lot of times when people are in bands and they're doing original music, you get a group of guys, and your ideas, when they all blend together, some people's feelings get hurt real easy, and then there's too much ego involved. I don't see a lot of that, or any at all, really, from your camp. It seems like everybody's really open to the idea of making the product the best that you can make it.
I thank you for noticing that, because us group of guys, I mean, we all know what the goal is. There's no egos on our bus, everybody works together, and we want to be successful at this. So, we just, no egos. I mean, we do what we do, and for the greater good of the band, I guess,
Absolutely.
mean, not everybody's a songwriter,
Sure.
I mean, it would be a pain in the ass if you had 5 people that all wanted to put their vision, and it's like,
Here, let's look at this inside picture here. Can we show this?
Absolutely.
Okay. I don't know if that's on there or not. If you can, if everybody take a look here. I could learn from this, because what we have here is Tony wrote, a big majority of this record, or the music that Three Years Hollow has, and what's making them successful. And there he is standing in the back looking like a hoodlum. I myself would probably have a problem with that and be like, no, listen, dudes, guitar player, I'm in front with the singer with, the arms folded showing my tattoos, and then the band would probably break up right there in the pictures for the record, And, I commend you on, I don't know why the pictures are lined up the way they are, and it doesn't seem like it matters to you.
No,
but
it doesn't, and I could never, ever take sole credit for, 3 Years Hollow songs. I mean, the other guy, we all know what parts we
you know
put
what I'm
in
getting at, though.
I do.
Guitar players tend to like to be in front. You know what I'm saying?
I just like to play,
Yeah,
It doesn't, I don't have to be out there and,
I hear you.
in that. And honestly, I think the photographer did it because of our heights. I remember he had a thing. He's like, well, you're taller than him and you're taller than him, so you go over here and you go over here. And
Okay.
Again, it's one of those things where it's kind of like when you're working with a producer, you kind of let them do their job, and
Right.
we're letting the labels.
If I saw you on the street and I was a 3 Years Hollow fan, and by seeing that picture, I probably would walk right by you at the mall and be like, well, no, that guy don't look hard enough. You know what I mean? You're a lot nicer looking in person, I guess.
Thanks, man.
But
You gonna buy me dinner after this?
yeah. So I put up that we were doing an interview with you, and I had some people, tell me what they might want to know.
Right.
And a lot of people really want to know what you're playing as far as on stage, like a rig rundown. And I think that some of them may be surprised by your response, but you go ahead and you do your rig rundown, and I want this one from top to bottom, and tell me what you're using and why, okay? And start with your guitars if you want to.
Well, we use 3 different tunings. So I've got an Ibanez. Couldn't tell you what kind it is. I've told you we've known each other a long time. I'm not a gearhead. I don't know what, I've always been if it sounds good and it feels good, then it's good. But I use that for the stuff for like the B song, the lower songs. Those are mostly the stuff, like the newer stuff we did, like Devil Slave and that. And
Didn't you pick up an endorsement recently?
no,
Or a sponsorship or something?
no.
Okay.
You're probably talking about Ernie Ball, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we did the Uproar Battle of the Bands. The other guitar I used for the stuff that, like the Ascension stuff, and there's a couple of tracks off the album that are in C. we'd done the Uproar Battle of the Bands. That's kind of how we got turned on to Imagine Records, because we did great. I mean, I think we took first in our region, and a lot of the voting. I mean, we really did. We were really successful at it, and we got to play at Tinley Park because we won our what do they call it?
Regional,
right? And we went up there and played, and Ernie Ball was part of it. It was on the Ernie Ball stage, and let's see, I'm trying to think of who else was part. I can't really remember their names, but the important part is Ernie Ball was part of it, and we didn't win. So after that, they had contacted us and said, you know, we really liked you guys a lot, and we were kind of pulling for you, and they said, you know, we want to help you out, so you guys just pick out a guitar, and we'll send it to you free. And I'm like, okay. Again, we've heard stuff like this before. So we picked out some guitars, and they sent them, and it was like one of the coolest things, man. I mean, I've never had anything like that happen to me before, you know. And I love the guitar. I got a John Petrucci 6. It's a little bit small. I tend to play a little bit smaller guitars because I guess I have sausage fingers. And,
I saw the pictures of you guys posing with the guitars and stuff, and I guess I assumed that was a endorsement.
Well, we were hoping.
Yeah.
But it just didn't work out that way.
Oh, okay. I see how that works. But anyway, we were getting back to the rig rundown here.
Right, and then I use that for the C stuff, and then I've got a Jackson Dinky that I got. That was the first guitar I got, like on my own, and I use that for the stuff that was off the Remember EP. It's tuned like the C sharp. I play, believe it or not, I still play a solid state crate that I've had for the last 10 some years. I've got a little Marshall cab. It's been my sound, and so far what I've seen, you know, everybody plays tubes, and that I've always come from the school that your sound comes more from your fingers, you know, comes from the player, and not the, you know, the gear that you have. I mean,
now please at least clear up the fact that solid state has the capability of having a lot more gain than a tube amp. Although, from what I hear from you, you've kind of learned through the years that your gain's not really that high, is it?
I don't use a whole lot of gain. It was funny because this we were doing a show. I can't remember where it was, but the dad and his son and his son's girlfriend. I think he was probably 14, maybe. They had come to the show, and he came up and he asked me, because I took all the labels off my amp, you know. When I had the crate, I use a Marshall cabinet now. It gets a little bit more bottom end to it. Excuse me. Your coffee, this possum coffee is making me burp. So, and, you know, the crate cabinet was just a little bit too high-endy for me. So I'd gotten that, and
so these people are backstage and you're showing your rig.
yeah, so he'd ask, you know, so I said, I play a crate, you know, it's a solid state. I told him same thing I just told you, I've had it for 10 years. He's like, really? Yeah, I really like the sound of that. And he's like, how do you get it to sound like that? And same thing, I said, well, a lot of it's in your fingers, you know, you become a good player. And I said, you know what, just come back, I'll show you, you know. And he's kind of like, and his dad's like, well, go, you know. And, you know, I'm like, yeah, come on back. So I took him his dad and his little girlfriend and then back there and showed him the amp because I hadn't loaded it out yet because I was being lazy. And I said, you know, basically what I do is, you know, I don't use a lot of gain. I said, he's like, well, mine's on like 10, you know. And I was like, well, I try not to oversaturate it, you know. My gain's up there a little bit. I got a little bit more mids and high ends in my sound. Neil kind of has a thicker sound, so we kind of try to balance it out, you know.
Right.
That's kind of how it's always been. I'm from the old school, you know. I like big 80s influence. I like that gain. I like that cut.
Are the two guitar sounds blended on this record, or is it the same rig, double tracked?
There's actually a few different things. For the ones we did in St. Louis, I used a Randall pod, and I loved the tones that we had. So we used pods on the.
And that seems to be the way that a lot of people are going anymore.
I mean, unless you got the time and the money and to sit there and set it all up
everybody's
and get the sounds.
Everybody's seen a year and a half in the life of Metallica, where they've got the amp room, you know, and there's all these boutique tube amps in there. And they, you know, if it were today, they would.
I'm going to tell you the benefit of it is when you're doing this and you think, I'm going to use my amp. Okay. So when you get that CD back and you're like, man, the guitars aren't beefy enough. Well, there's nothing you can really do about it. You can try EQing it. Now you use the pod, you can go, well, let's change the guitar sound.
Oh, so you farmed it. So you're actually recording a dry signal to take to hard drive, and then you can farm it through amps.
Right.
That's a cool technique that's been out for a while that I've never utilized myself, but I've heard of.
I was always against it, I'm never using no.
You should re-release the record without any effects on it, just the straight recorded guitars. It would sound like a bluegrass record.
Maybe, but I kind of like it too because when we were going back through like proof and everything, it's like I said, well, take all the juice off it. I want to make sure that I played that properly, and I could hear it. And I knew that didn't sound right. Let me retrack it real quick,
Yeah.
So there's another benefit. I mean, you can to keep the settings the same. I mean, you can just plug it and go. You know what I mean? That's what I like the benefit. Like I said,
That's cool. What's funny is when 3 Years Hollow goes double platinum on this record, and you're on the inside or on the cover of Guitar Player magazine, and you're holding, your dinky, and then you've also got a crate behind you, and then a big fold-out poster of you with your crate amp and like this. Then all of a sudden, crate's cool. You know what I mean? Then it would be huge.
Can I be on the side with 1 foot up?
No. Can I be behind your amp, peeking over like this?
Yeah,
might be my only opportunity. Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to kind of talk about the scene here in the Quad Cities. Okay. Because a lot of the listeners that have watched my show already kind of know how this thing runs. And as a matter of fact, I'm being really stuffy during this episode. I want to kind of get to the meat and potatoes of talking to you because your time is valuable, and plus we're having a fucking snowstorm the Death Storm 2014 right now. So, but the scene seems to be kind of popping right now. I want to kind of expose a couple other bands that I've heard in the area here for originals. And listen, one of my favorite local bands aside from 3 Years Hollow is a band called 1152, who is.
I knew you were going to say that.
You're obviously familiar with them.
Yeah, and, good friends. Good friends. Good band. Tight band, man.
Had them on the show a couple times, and they're always welcome to be on the show. Anyway, I wanted to show you guys what we're talking about here, and I want to play something by my brothers in 1152 here. This is The Company. Check it out. am. That was 1152 with the
yeah.
company. Let's talk about touring a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's everybody's kind of goal. I mean, everybody that starts a band, they imagine, I guess they dream when they're putting their band together and they're in their bedroom or basement, wherever they're at. And they can kind of picture themselves, oh, man, I can't wait to get on that Greyhound bus. You know, and city to city and that whole life, you know, I guess you forget about, well, I'll let you say it, but give me the first road story that you can come up with.
Going about 70 miles an hour down in Florida, stopping off to see a friend, and the axle for the trailer and the wheel and everything just left. And when it's funny thing is because we were bored. I mean, we were sitting there going and we're going for a little R&R. You know, we had a couple of days off, and our drivers had family down there, and he's like, "Come to the house, we shower and stuff," because the first tour showers were few and far between, and a luxury that we loved. But anyway, we're riding down the road, and we've got the logo on the side of the RV, and people are coming by and they're looking at us honking. So we're waving. So we start waving at people, and this lady, I wave at her, and she goes. At the same time, I'm going, and I hear clunk, and then see the driver, and they're like, "Well, the wheel just fell off," so the trailer's dragging, and so we pull it over down in Florida. There's long weeds, and I'm like, "Well, let's get out and look for the tire." And I'm like, I'm not getting in the grass, you know what I mean? Because there's snakes and all kinds of shit down there, I guess, you know.
What the hell would you get the tire for? You can't put it back on if the axle breaks off, right?
Tire was still good.
Okay.
It was actually, it got so hot that it melted like everything
shit.
off, you know.
Wow.
So, but anyway, we go and we're all out traipsing through the weeds, and I think 3 of us ended up with chigger bites, and they were painful. And, got the tire back. We actually had to call a tow truck to have them come. We're on the side of the road, and it's like they got the trailer up there, and then we got stuck in Florida for about 2 weeks, and waiting for the axle to come in.
Wow.
And it was cool.
So when you talked about your first tour, and I think that when I remember I kind of watch you guys from afar. By the way, everybody knows that I'm just absolutely fucking jealous of what 3 Years Hollow is doing, and I say that with all the respect.
I know what you mean, man.
You know what I mean?
I'd be jealous too.
You would be too, right? And because us, lame asses have to sit here and still do their. I'm just saying. To me, when I get up in the morning, I love to see my kids and my wife and all that stuff, But in the back of my head, there's that. Damn it, man! I'd love to be doing that, And then you go through your stupid Facebook, and then you're like, "There's a picture of you guys on the RV, looking like you're having a good time. It's band time, and it just seems awesome." So tell me, when it came up that you were going to do the first tour, and you guys all got together and got on the, in the RV, where was the first stop? And what was the feeling in the RV? Were you guys going, holy shit, is this really happening?
Well, we did, we kept track of the first tour. We did a lot of webisodes last time. So when we were leaving, we were like, everybody was excited, and then we couldn't believe it because leading up to it, we're like, man, 10 days, we're actually going to do this. We actually quit our jobs, and so, all right. So we get on the bus. I think the first stop was Jacksonville, and it was a long drive there, so we're kind of just hanging out, getting used to the RV, because we had a driver at the time, and he liked to go about 90 if he could. And,
well, that's a good idea, I think.
Well, and the thing is, but when you're in the back of the RV, it looks like you ride down the road like this, so you're like, oh my God. But we make it down there, and the first week of playing was really, it was rough. We didn't kind of know, there was the headline, we don't want to step on anybody's toes. It's like, when do we go here? When do we go here? I mean, this was still at the time, we were unsigned, We just said, we're going to go for it because Empire gave us the opportunity. So we went out and started playing and kind of took some direction from those guys, and, learned what to do, what not to do. And they were super cool about everything. They helped us out, and we got there, we played, and I was like, all right, this is cool.
Is it true that the label, usually a record label's not going to sign a band unless they're road tested first?
That's been our experience that we've seen. I think that's maybe what was, I'm not sure about this, but, they wanted to wait and make sure that we could hang, because, it's not for everybody. There's probably some people at home that think we're doing blow off strippers' boobs and tits and shit, and it's not like that. You know what I mean? It's your typical day. You if you get up in the morning, you drive to the next venue, stop and get some lunch. Usually your load-in time is between like 2 and 4, whoever the headliners, they do their sound check. Get there. We have a tour manager now, and he usually handles all that stuff, but he goes and gets the day sheet, and the day sheet is pretty much your itinerary. It tells you, what your set time is, what time the doors open, sound check, order, bus call when it's time to leave, So he gets you all that and load in. And this tour is a little different. Some of the clubs when we first started were a little bit smaller, so they Save and Able offered to let us use their gear if we wanted, like we wanted to bring cabinets in and all that. So, and Neil and the other guy used the same kind, so it works out great. So,
well, the last thing anybody in the audience wants to see is a fucking changeover of like 3 bands.
Right, and that's a huge part of it too, because the tour right now, I mean, it goes pretty well on schedule. I think there's only been one show when it was behind. Other than that, everybody knows what they're doing. But like I said, I don't want to forget what I was telling you. So you get there, you load in. Usually for us, you get a sound check if you want it, but we're using the same mix. So, I mean, it's just as easy to say, during the show, you can turn the monitors down or whatever. But there's only been one show that was just horribly bad. Like the monitors were so loud and you just couldn't hear nothing. But you never know. You might show up and they may be like, well, there's 5 openers tonight, 5 local bands before you guys. Doors open at 6. You guys go on at 10. It's like, oh my God,
Wow. I get my day sheet from my wife every morning. Yeah, it's a little bit different of a life for me, Tony. Anyway, continue where you. So you're at the venue. You guys play your slot, and.
Yeah, we set up our merchandise. I mean, that's the key thing for any bands that are going to go out and tour. You need to have merchandise because that's where you get exposure, and that's where you're going to make your money.
So you spend most of your time after the show at your merch, meeting fans
every night
and networking, and that.
Absolutely,
I think that's brilliant.
We like I said, we've seen some of the bands, what they do, what they don't do. We've always try to take the best care of our fans as possible because we couldn't do it without them. So, we work together pretty well too. Like when I'm saying we load in, I usually do a lot of loading in. I don't mind, the work and that. Like Dex will go set up the merchandise, I'll get his stuff for him, and, Neil grab his stuff. Jose help Chris, we'll get all that stuff taken care of, get the merch set up, and then we kind of just kick back, have dinner, and get dressed and go in usually about an hour before the show, tune up, play the show, and go to the merch table, meet the fans, and when it dies down, then we kind of go, and then we usually pop back out after the next band's done, because people come over there, and we're always talking to people, and then of course we come out after the headliner's done, and really that's when you want to try and interact with the people, because a lot of times you'll find it's like, boy, nobody's coming over here, and it's like they don't want to lose their spot.
Right.
Yeah. And they'll stay up there the whole night, and you don't want to miss. Like, we were going to pack it up early one night. This was a lesson that we learned. Like, fortunately, it worked out good because we're like, should we pack it up? And we're like, let's wait. And we ended up making, a couple $100 extra at the end of the night, which is crucial.
Sure.
I mean, you don't always get paid for every show that you do. You know what I mean? Well, so like I said, the merchandise is where you're going to, make some money,
Well, you guys are obviously growing roots right now, and you're still in the growing stage.
Yeah.
Although I think that this record's going to be strong enough to, it's going to be a bright sun for your growing tree, I guess.
I'll tell you what, man, there's a lot of blood and sweat and tears that went into all of these songs, and we all believe in them 100%, man, and I thank you for saying that. But we're really proud of this, and we're hoping it's going to do what we'd like it to do, which is, it'd be nice to be big and famous rock stars, but really I just want to make a living doing what I love, and that's playing music, meeting people, and
I mean, that would be about the equivalent for, some Sirius radio picking up my podcast or something, and then I could sit here and talk shit for a living, which, I think you're closer to your dream than I am mine, but either way, I'm still enjoying myself, and I love it when people go after their dream and they put one foot before the other and they actually go after it with a little bit of forethought and a little bit of planning. Like I say, you and Jose are very intelligent people. When you went into this, you didn't just go, okay, let's just go play some loud music and then everything will happen on its own. You realize that, it doesn't come to you. You have to go get it.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and this isn't Sunset Strip anymore. They're not coming down handing out record deals. They want you to do 3/4 of the work and go, well, we'll step in now and we'll just take over from here, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you really, like, it's 120% commitment if you want to do this. I mean, if you want to be, do it for a living or anything. I mean, and like I said, I don't know everything. A lot of this is still new to us, you know.
So anyway, I wanted to play another local band while we had a little space here, and this is The Continuance. I wanted to play another band that I haven't played on the show before, and this is a Man-Made Destiny. For those who like it a little bit heavier and a little bit harder hitting, I guess that's a little bit. I can't do that with my voice, man.
No, that's Jacob's band, right?
Jacob Gregory.
Yeah, right.
Super nice guy. And I tell you what, I've always thought about the vocal styles of modern music anymore.
Right.
And man, when I try to sing it in the car or whatever, say if I'm trying to sing along with Three Years Hollow, which by the way, this record has a lot of hooks in it. About the third time I heard each song, I was going, damn it. These guys are gone. I'm going to see if I can't live in Tony's basement when he gets famous. That's what I'm going to try to do. I'll be your guitar tuner or something. Anyway, that was The Continuance with A Man Made Destiny, and that was another local band. But right here in my hands, I have the Cracks from Three Years Hollow. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to go track by track on this record, because I'm sure that this might be an interesting thing to do, is to kind of see what, as you're listening to it, when you get your hands on this thing, maybe a couple thoughts, stories, or memories of recording each track, or
Sure.
just something like that. So we'll go right down the run here. Track 1 is The Devil's Slave. What do you remember about that one?
Oh, that was really a more Clint song. I do remember, though, at one point when we were recording it, we'd had it mostly done, and we were doing some kind of like arranging, and we thought maybe the middle part was too long. Should we chop it? And everyone's talking, and Jose's pretty quiet usually, and all of a sudden he goes, "Fuck that." We're like, "What?" And he's like, I give me a minute with this. He's like, I want to, I write for me, I like, the reason we did this is because we wanted to write songs we liked, and he's like, I really think I could do something with this and make it more than what it is. And he went and spent about, 5 or 10 minutes with it, came back, and there was an extended part, and Clint and Morgan were there, and they were like, wow, it kind of, reminded me of doing that. You've done it. He's like, he's done it for so long where he's like, it's almost like it's ingrained to, you want to cut this out, right? Cut this out, make this shorter. But, he reminded him of why, he probably started doing music in the first place.
Absolutely. Cool story. Now, we talked a bit about Chemical Ride, but is there anything you haven't, as far as recording that, we talked about St. Louis and all.
I just, nothing I can really remember in particular. I do remember at Groove Master, we did, there's actually, I don't know if I should say this, there's a gang vocal on there that we did, the Give In To Me,
Mm-hmm.
it was me and the driver and the manager and all of us, and he just said, I don't care if you can't sing, I just want you to just go, give in to me, as loud as you can, and then
Sure.
we did it like 10 times, and then he took it and did his work and gave it that kind of anthem-y sound to it, so that was pretty cool. I'd never seen that, done before. Would have never thought of it.
Very cool, very cool. How about track 3 is For Life?
For Life is the oldest song on the album. Like I was telling you earlier, it's from like 2007. I guess the part of that would be Clint putting the solo down and then me realizing I have to learn it. You know what I mean?
Okay, so are we hearing Clint play the solo on the record?
Yes, that's
then?
Clint featured on there.
So everybody that goes to see 3 Years Hollow live, make sure that on that song, you go up to Tony and cross your arms and put the pressure on.
Do it. But, we were sitting there, and he had a lot to do with the arrangement of that song, and kind of made the more driving, rhythmic for the listener from the original way. And then he said, I really hear a lead here on this part. And we're like, well, we really want to feature you on the thing. And he's like, well, we'll put something down here. He did it and did a few takes, and then I was like, all right, good. He's like, the guy's like, can you do that? I'm like, I'm pretty sure I can do it. If I can't, but yeah, so that was cool, to do and actually play it, and get his approval on it,
Sure, yeah. So how about the title track, The Cracks?
Cracks. I'll be honest, Cracks was whatever we did. That was one of the 3 we did in St. Louis, Devil's Slave, Fallen, and Cracks. And Cracks was not my immediate favorite at all. I liked the music, I guess. It didn't gel with me because it was a little different, because there was a lot of Clint in that song. And I ended up really liking it. And I'll tell you the best story about this for me, I guess. We were sitting down there, and it was almost lunchtime, and we were putting the last couple little tracks on there, and Clint says, all right, solo, I'm going to lunch. So I'm like, all right, so we'll be back in, half an hour? Yep. And I'm like, great, okay. I didn't know there was going to be a lead on this song, you know what I mean? So I had to come up with something off the cuff, and something that was, good and, had some sustenance to it. It wasn't just, throwing some, pointless notes in there. And I ended up working it out while they all left, and then I put a split guitar in there. It's something that I always try to think, okay, I've got this. I don't want it just to be a solo. Let's see what else I can do to make it a little bit different. You know what I mean? And so I threw the split in there because that's not like one of something I normally would do. Same as like Devil Slave. I tapped on the solo. I never do that. I'm a horrible tapper. But anyway, that song, you know, we did the solo, and they came back, and we're sitting there in the room, and they're like, all right, you ready to hear it? I was like, I guess so, you know, and I mean, I was confident, you know.
Sure.
I mean, I've been playing a long time, I don't, you know, but, you know, they liked it. They liked everything I did, and they're like, well, you really hit the nail on the head, so, you know, I was like, oh, good, I'm happy with it.
That's got to feel good.
And now this is, you know, one of my favorite songs on the album.
Excellent. We got Fallen.
There was only one little change in there, like one little part that changed, and it was just note choices. They were really kind of dissonant sounding, and Clint said, you know, let's try to make this a little bit different, you know, and a little more his style in there. And we're like, okay. And at first I didn't think the guitar solo that I already had, because it was a little longer, was going to fit with it. It ended up fitting real nicely, and put it down, and then we did the harmonies on the end of it, and that's what really started sinking in for me. We already had them worked out, but when we actually get to the, you know, good lyrics, because we always do caveman lyrics. I don't know if, you know, you get some kind of melody, it doesn't make any sense, and then you got to kind of stop and go, all right, you know, this doesn't make any kind of sense, you know. But usually a song starts with, you know, one line that you really have, and you kind of, you know, that really catches, like Chemical Ride, you know,
Sure.
and then you kind of build around it. So you do that, and then, you know, I'm probably getting off track here now from your question.
Yeah, I understand. I know what you're talking about. You know, when you're writing original music, obviously the first time that, you know, the band doesn't just all of a sudden just shit out Chemical Ride at practice and go, is that a song? Did we, you know, is that it?
No.
You know what I mean? It's usually a whole bunch of scat vocals of just blah, 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 just trying to come up with a melody. And then all of a sudden the line will come through. Because I know I've done that a million times. I have demos of stuff there. All of a sudden I'll just say a line. Then you finish the whole song around that. You know what I mean? Kind of.
I think the original melody or line for Chemical Ride was, I like the way you make me go around, or something like that.
Really?
Yeah. You know, it was just mumbled, and then that one day he just, you know, Chemical Ride, and we were like, oh, I like that.
And that might be your ticket. Okay. So did we do Taken by All?
Taken by All, that's a weird one too, kind of. That's a combination between, like, Jose and I've been writing together for a long time, and that was a combination where I'd had this riff, that the main riff of the song, and I was sitting there, and I'm like, what am I gonna do for a verse? And I thought, it just popped in my head. I was like, this old demo that Jose had written, no words, no nothing on it. It was way before, I mean, even before For Life. I mean, it was just a riff, and I thought, man, that would fit really perfect in there, you know. So I went over, played it for him. We did it on the drum machine, put the, you know, that intro plus that verse together, and then I wrote a pre-chorus for it, and I actually tried to do something a little different with that song too. Like, there's a lot of little picking things on there that similar to Remember, but a little bit more, moves around a little bit more. And then Clint had come, and that was a co-write. We'd had a bridge, and it just, you know, wasn't really working out, and he had said, you know, let's try this. And so he kind of helped shape the rest of that song, and well, that's pretty much it.
You know, as you go through the tracks here, there's some familiar titles that you had on on your EP.
Mm-hmm. Well, we took 5 of the songs from the EP.
Right.
Like I was
Okay.
saying, yeah.
Yeah, and so because as you go through here, you know, you have Hungry, and then you have Runaway, which, you know, I've heard that before. We Belong.
We Belong. That was actually a song that I brought to the table a long time ago. I still have the old demo of it too. But
Well, in the box set, when you put out your box set, when you guys are still doing this 25 years from now or 30 years from now, you put out your box set, put all the demos in there.
I will.
And this interview right here might even make the box set.
Maybe.
What do you think, man?
Maybe, man. But you know, that was we know that we couldn't just, you know, put out an album that's just going to be crushing. You know, we've always thought of ourselves as good songwriters, and like to make it a little bit of variety, which is always different tunings too, you know. But we thought, you know, we need a little bit slower of a song, and I'd had that groove popping around in my head forever, and I had brought it to the guys, and we'd rehearsed it, and didn't have any lyrics or anything left, no melody line. Neil actually came up with the first line of the chorus of that, and then Jose did the rest of his parts on there, and then that was pretty much it. I mean, that song was didn't really change anything. They did take out, which I thought was good. I put a lot of these harmonic things in there too. Like I said, I was always trying to do something a little bit different, and I kind of filled the song in a little bit. Well, the guys who mixed it, they pulled out the one main riff that I did, and they boosted the little harmonic things up, and it kind of gives the song kind of a cool feel to it, and it kind of gives a little bit of a build up, So it starts off, when you hear it, it starts off slow, and then when that next verse picks in, there's this little muted little part that comes in. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, sure.
And then finally, when you get to the second verse, the harmonics and the muted thing, it's all kind of like
blending together.
Right, yeah, and it's really big and nice, and it worked out really good.
Right.
So, and a lot meatier too, the guys at Architect, they beefed everything up on it. It's got a lot of, power and drive in the drums especially.
Oh, it sounds killer.
I think it does too, man. Thank you.
Sounds awesome. How about Take the World?
Take the World was the first session that we did with Clint, the very first one I told you about when he came to Geneseo. And that was the one song we had picked. Just kind of off the cuff, we were sitting there and so let's just see what we can come up with, and he had this riff, and we all just kind of started riffing back and forth, and he put some stuff down. And at first, the song, I wasn't going to make the album, I wasn't sure. We weren't sure if it was or not, because we're kind of like, what should we do? We're kind of having we had two different pre-choruses for it. We're like, which one do we like better, We finally decided to go with our gut and do the original one that we did. And it turned out nice. I think, personally, that song's got a killer big chorus on it, and, it's a... And it has a kind of a good message too, I guess, parts of it. You can't take the world away from me, get what's yours.
Absolutely. Now, Lost.
Well, I can tell you a cool story about that. That was, I brought that song to the table, and I've always, we showed it to the guys, and, we did our little respective parts in there, and then everybody put their stuff together, and, there was a part in the segue to the second verse. I was like, I really want, like I said, do something different. I really want to put some tremolo guitar in there. Sometimes I just like this for personal. Like it's like a motor, like a chainsaw.
Sure.
And gets people feeling it. So I thought, all right, let's put that in there. And then I thought about it later, and I think I told you before one other time before we did this. Like I like to sometimes mess with Chris because I think Chris is one of the hands down one of the best drummers. He's the best drummer I've played with, and if I'm programming these songs on the computer, it's like, all right, I'm gonna throw this in here and see if you can do this. I can't do it, I can think it. So I'll be like, I said, Chris, I don't know, I would like to see if you can do this part. And he's like, well, don't count me out, let's see. And I, some, hi-hat things, and he nailed it. So, you get the 16th notes on the hi-hat with the guitar chugging to, and it really, to me, sounded like, it gave it that feeling of a car taking off, and it kind of really put you in that mood. And then we also, I should probably tell you this too, it was kind of important with our songs. The lyrics usually are the last thing we do. The lyrics and all the like Lost, the pre-chorus used to run together, and we end up taking that and saying, let's try this. We always try something.
So you get the music and the melody and all that stuff down, and then you make the story.
We finalize it. Like I said, usually if there's one line, like We Belong was, take me someplace better. And it was kind of like, so let's mold it around that, and we kind of wrote the words, and, it was like, okay, it doesn't make sense. All right, well, let's make it make sense. What kind of story do we want to tell,
I got a little shit to give you here, because this is an open door for you're talking about doing Chris a little bit, like overdoing the drums a little bit to see if he can whatever. Well, this is an open invitation for you to on the next record hum the solo that you want him to play on a song, and see if he can do it. And listen, just do me a favor and listen to Yngwie Malmsteen first or something, or something like that, and just get that stuck in your head. And then Tony, I think it should be like, can you do that?
Yeah, let me call Brian in real quick.
Ooh. I'll do it.
We'll be featuring you on the next one when they do that.
Yeah. And then the last track on here, we got Remember, remastered.
Yeah, that was the one that, that was like, I guess really, Jose and I were at Real Tracks, and we were sitting there, and this is kind of what got us to the, as we were doing the album, it was one of the first ones we did, and we're like, I guess I should say this first, like on Ascension album, that was really raw. We didn't really we were just kind of just jamming, and, putting a little bit of our thought into it. But this time we thought we really need to take it to the next level. We needed to make some sustenance, make some meaning behind this, and go the extra mile. So we were sitting there, and Jose said, this line is, how will you be remembered? That's the one thing that keeps sticking out at me, because he wanted to go, how will you be remembered? And I thought, that's good. I could really see that. So him and I kind of bounced back and forth, like line for line almost, made a few changes here. And it was really kind of fun, man, because that was really like the first time, him and I have been working together for years. And it's the first time we really like got it was fun, bouncing back off when we got done. And I was like, I'm really proud of this, man. This is, we kind of, I feel like we've stepped up a little bit here, We've told a story that, it makes sense, trying to, and I've always thought that the best songs, the music kind of captures the feel of what the song's meaning is, and it's just an energy song, and it kind of tells you that, don't lay down and take it, stand up, how do you want to be remembered when you leave? What are you going to be left? What's your stamp,
That's awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, man. This has been a good time sitting and talking with you, Tony.
Man.
And like I said, I'm so proud of you, man.
Thank you.
And it's been a pleasure to sit back and watch this thing grow and watch your professionalism and your talents.
It's been me on this side of it. I mean, it's been awesome. I mean, scary and fun. Lots to look forward to. And thank you to everybody who's ever come to a show. You guys really mean the most to us. I mean, we would not be here if it wasn't for the fans and just the general support, like you were talking earlier about the live music, all the local bands around here. We support local music. I mean, without local bands, there wouldn't be national bands. So
there you go.
And we obviously would, we'll do whatever we can to help the scene grow. And 'cause, I mean, that's what it's all about, man.
Excellent.
We learned that. That's one of the things we learned from Empire on the road. It's like, support. You can't do it alone. And the more you got, more power in numbers. So it's everybody networking. Throwing a shout out for these guys. Hey, their band's playing this weekend. Everybody come out and see it. Yeah, these guys. Just keep it alive. I mean, you just kind of do it. And you can sit there and think about it all day, but get out there and support your local bands. Then it's not easy. It's not easy at all. Usually, you don't really make that much. You get to go out and play your songs for your friends, and it's nice when to play in front of people that actually go and have a good time, and I mean.
Well, and in this situation, Tony, this is your job now. You don't have a Monday through Friday that's going to pay your bills for you. So this is how you're going to eat from now on.
That is.
And and they say that when you tell your mom or your friends or whatever, you're like, hey, I'm gonna make it big. I'm gonna be a big rock star. And they usually say something like, well, you got the same odds as winning the lottery. Well, I'm gonna sit here and say that if this was a lottery ticket, all 5 numbers are there, and it's just up to fate.
Thank you, man.
If the Powerball lines up too, because this lottery ticket's already a winning ticket. It just depends on how far it's gonna go. And like I said, I mean, the numbers are there. We'll just see if the Powerball lines up. Because if that does, you guys are going to be all over the place here.
I mean, all of us have really put our whole life into this. These 12 songs, and I mean, it really is like make or break. I mean,
yeah.
And when you say about the day job and that, and it's like your family saying, "Oh, you got the same odds of winning the lottery." Everybody of the whole 3 Years Hall of Family, everybody's families, I mean, definitely couldn't have done it without support. I mean, my dad's been my biggest fan, he's never said, no, you can't do that. And I think even Dex mentioned that in there, in his thank yous there about something along the lines of that about, that nobody held us back. Everybody was like, go for it. And you need that. Like I said, 120%. You need all the support you can get. Because there's some nights out there where you're just like, man, is this really worth it? Because it's freezing cold. You don't have any money.
You're back on the road how soon? You do this the 8th, on the 8th?
Yeah.
February 8th, and then...
I'm not sure which date we're departing yet, but I know shortly after that, I think.
Got another run to do. And is it East Coast again?
I'm not real sure, man.
You don't know?
No. Everybody always says that to me. They're like, because I'm the least social networker of the band. Like, the Facebook and that. I share our stuff, but I'm still in the dark ages. I still have a little slide phone. I don't have a smartphone, But it's like, I always kind of think, well, they can't start without me. So I mean, I'm gonna be there, you know. And a lot of times, you know how it is. I mean, when you're there, they're like, "Hey guys, you know," before we left for tour, it was like we were playing a couple of weekend shows. You know, it's like, "Hey, don't forget, we got 2 shows this weekend. Everybody's leaving Friday at 4." You know, but now it's, you know, it's kind of just a habit. Like, you know, well, we're heading here tomorrow, and tomorrow after that, and it's like, all right, you know, give the heads up. Hey, I'm coming home for a few days or whatever. And
Well, on this leg, I hope the force be with you. No wheels fall off. No trailers blow up.
you know what? I think
Nobody gets sick. Everybody's healthy. You guys have a good time. And except for, I gotta be honest, I kind of hope Neil quits or something, so that maybe I could buzz my hair and you know, fill in for a while or something. I'm joking, Neil. Love you, buddy. But
Neil who? He's gonna get that because I just said that to him earlier.
So anyway, I want to thank you, Tony, for coming on MDR, man. It's
Thanks
a pleasure.
for having me, dude.
And good luck, buddy.
Always nice to see you, man. So I was glad you called.
We're gonna leave you with the Chemical Ride video, and check this out. This is one of the tracks on the Cracks, and we'll see you next time on MDR, baby. See ya.
Ready to go?
Yes.